welcome. Welcome, Pub Club. That's our name now, Pub Club.
You like that?
Yeah, it's simple, sweet. So welcome, Pub Club team. Let me welcome, and I hope you all have renewed and got your village stories. They're doing very
good job.
Yeah, good book. Our 7th publication, our 7th village stories.
Could I interrupt? I see 2 new members here who have logged on, and our 3rd new member is going to be a little bit late. But Linda Carlson, would you wave your hand? There's Linda.
Hello there.
Hi. And Melba Turner, but Melba goes by Rita in spite of what her caption says.
Okay.
So welcome Rita and Linda, and we have another Linda Gross who happens to be a neighbor of mine, and she will be here a little bit late. And we have somebody raising her hand, BMW. BMW, who are you?
Yes, I'd just like to introduce myself. My real name is Barbara Woke, and my book to be published tomorrow has my pen name of Diana Kingsley. Okay, and yeah, so I just want to show you something. One moment. Okay. I don't know if you'll be able to see this or not, but this is the promo for my book that's coming out tomorrow.
Nice.
Very nice.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And Barbara, I don't show that you're a member yet.
No, not yet. This is the first meeting.
All right. Well, welcome. We currently have 47 members in this club as of this year. 21 of those have not renewed for 2022, and I certainly do encourage you to do that. We're going to be ordering another supply of our Village Stories 2021 after this meeting. So we do, if you want to renew and you want a copy of that book, or even if you have already gotten your copies and you want to order additional ones, please let us know. You can put it in the chat box, or you can email me directly, and I'll put my email in the chat box for you.
Well, okay, so this meeting, our speaker is Phil Silverman, who is multi-talented. He is not only a prolific publisher, author, he's also a composer and also a show host. So I have his first.
Here we go.
Here we are.
And his last, I think he's published 8 books. So also he's our promo chair. So with no further ado, Phil Silverman.
We hope when we get heavy into marketing for the remainder of this year and next year, we're going to have Pub Club all over.
Yep.
We're going to have Pub Club. We're going to have Pub Club all over. Baseball caps, T-shirts, all over the place, selling it. And we're going to be selling books and paraphernalia at flea markets, I hope. Phil Silverman and Cheryl Silverman coincidentally put out our own book. It was my 2nd publication through the Pub Club, which was called The Boomerang Twice. The boomerang twice has nothing to do with the movie with Lana Turner, even though the front cover shows that. And I want to say, you know this, you know my story. I started out with Peggy. It was Peggy's idea to get the club off the ground, and I supported Peggy the last 9 years, trying to stay involved with my new job title called the Pub Club Promoter. No, Pub Club Plugger, I believe. Pub Club Pug. If you can say that, you can have the job. Pub Club Plugger. I'm going to reach out to the Globe, Orange County Register, the Breeze. We hope to do a dog and pony show once or twice a year at the senior centers. Respectfully and appropriately do a variety show, 17 songs by Sunshine and 2 by me. Now we're going to combine music, original music, and readings, and we should make some good bucks in those venues. T-shirts. I want to contact Custom Ink about the T-shirt. Peggy, you could remind us what the title will be on the shirt. Pub Club of Laguna Woods on shirts and or baseball caps. We can have such items for the board or every member. We'll work on that. I mentioned before, flea markets are a choice too. Getting back to my writings, my first writing was in 1960 or whatever that was. Did some writing at the grammar school, which led to what I called Phil books. We had Phil books all through the 6th grade. A friend of mine found them 20 years later in a cabinet. Hello. Okay. A friend of mine, mother, took a job as the lead maintenance person at the old grammar school, and 20 years later found all these books I wrote called Phil books. And my friend said they were actually funny. So that's how I got started. And I also want to mention what happened next. In 1972, I was part of a nationally recognized award-winning publication called The Manuscript. And I'll read you that poem later that I did that got published. And then a lot of things happened. And in 1986, the writer of the Little Richard official biography had me, I can't say hired, but he asked me, and I did it, write a screenplay based upon the book that came out. Maybe some of you saw that in 1984. And a lot of people got a chance to read it. And the most important person said, it's pretty good, but it's too much like a TV movie, like too much like a made-for-TV movie. So nothing happened. And 9 years later, guess what? It was a made-for-TV movie. Okay, enough of that self-aggrandizement. And that booze was pretty good this morning. No. The first, where did it go? The very first piece I had published as part of the annual was our first annual, and Miranda, our buddy, Miranda McPhee, chose this poem to kick off the series. I wrote this back in around 1995. It's called, If We Could Learn to Love the Way We Learned the Violin. If we could learn to love the way we learned the violin, the world would be a better place with less should have beens. If we could learn to love and not yearn for the past, love would grow, love would last. But we cannot play the strings of love, for there are no strings. Although we hear the songs of love, it's not a musical thing. Though many find the fret bar, the bow and the keys, the strings of love are silent like a distant breeze. Now, romance can be wrought from an instrument of sound, Feeling can be sought in our sensual world around, but lasting love comes from a place which cannot be found. If we could learn to love the way we learn the violin, the world would be in harmony with no discord within. And I wrote something, I'm bouncing around a little bit. I'm going to combine published works with hopefully future published works through the Pub Club. Now, this was inspired by our friend Gar, and I can't pronounce his last name at the moment. Our buddy Gar from the Sunshine Performance Company. Gar is a recent Sunshiner. Check out our YouTubes. He brought up the expression traveling guitar, and I liked it, so I wrote a piece. So this is a song without chords at the moment. It's a work in progress. Traveling guitar. Travel near and far. Itinerant man am I, reaching right up to the sky. Traveling all under and over, you can call me a rover. Then I met a little miss. Her song was much more of a hit, not miss. I went from a little to a lot. Now I've reached the spot. Met a girl in Alabama, a farm girl named Daisy Ann. She showed me a brand new F-sharp chord. It rang as true as a tuning fork. I wrote a tune soon just for her. She smiled real big, let out a purr. No more wandering cold or hot. Now I'm rooted to the spot, traveling guitar. Work. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Gar. Here's something else I wrote for your enjoyment. Now listen closely. I want to mention one thing with my new job title as Pub Club Plugger. Do I get dental with that? I need it. Okay. Just kidding. Grease, this is called Grease to Go. Grease to Go. Gracefulness once more. Socrates and Aristotle never leave you wanting. For me at a diner in Linden, New Jersey, it's quote unquote takeout of moussaka and saganaki and a thimble of Varaya stout. Grease to go. Gracefulness of a green-eyed waitress whose culture goes back to at least 600 BC. Rapturous architecture, Italian colonies. At my enclave near the strip mall, I cook feta lemon fries with garbanzo beans, while I imbibe nice ouzo fit for Constantine. You like it so far? No money to travel, can't travel without a mask. I'll choose technology, a real-time tour of Corinth, present day, not the past. Waitress born in Sparta. Owner is from Thebes. Cashier from Union City, her boyfriend from Tripoli. Okay, folks. Let me try another new one for you. And we're all fans of YouTube, which is a miracle. Can you believe that orange juice commercial we saw in 1961 is now on YouTube? We could watch it 36,000 times. It's amazing. This is for a musical artist, the artist known as Prince. Anybody like Prince out there? I've gotten in trouble. I've been a little harsh with him, but I can't stand his guts. I don't know what, no, I'm just kidding. Very talented musician. This is for Prince. This is called Finishing Touch. Float in on your cloud to see what is near. Musical distortion on a song that requires clarity and vision. Wave your hand to fade that band, the other hand to grab a beer. 3 deep swigs, grab that G-box and Learn them good. Need a flourish, a setup, a flurry of notes dangerously near the bridge. And the gullible souls will clap on the one beat. They can enjoy it. Selfless man, less than a self. Who did you borrow from today? What compelled you to say, I never borrowed from him? Okay, rolling right along, folks. We'll take questions afterward. I want to read. I don't have the 53 bus at hand. Here's what I want to read. I want to read something about baseball. Do we have baseball fans out there? Baseball fans. Anybody like football?
What?
Oh, I'm not going to get into my. I'm not going to do my football rant, although I don't understand a sport where male heterosexuals are supposed to get worked up over guys in tights. Okay, this is, remember the 1964 New York Yankees, I hope. This was quite a transitional day. I was 13 years old and I went from 13 to 48 in one day. What was it? Extrasensory. I don't know what it was. It was an experience. The first time in my life I had the experience of, a few times I did, of feeling interdimensional, if you will. I was 13. And being a baseball fanatic, I'm watching the game. And suddenly I see the guy at bat as some working stiff in a costume. And I couldn't get rid of it for days. I was scared. Tom Treash's 1964 first at bat in spring training. Watching our little black and white TV at our house on 46th Street, I was in our newly installed den. See, he's batting left-handed. He's a switch hitter like the guy he was being groomed to replace, Mickey Mantle. In 1 second, I went from a 13-year-old excited baseball fan to the most dubious, cranky, crotchety old man. I'm seeing only an older kid in a sports uniform holding a bat. Nothing more scary. Nothing beyond the occupational title of athlete. No magic at all. He probably couldn't hold, I'd better not use that word. He probably couldn't hold his blank for 9 innings either. Might as well call him a professional athlete and just get down to occupational titles and what puts bread on the table. Where's the Yankee? Where's the magic? It rings cold. Will I ever go back to being excited and thrilled in the moment? In the future, I'll know it as carpe diem. Good college phrase. I was scared. I was alone. Could never have discussed this with my parents. Well, my father was a Met fan. That wasn't going to work anyway. I couldn't stand that catapult into old age. Now I'm what, 60? I'm in a rocker. I'm in a rocker in the back room parallel to the kitchen. That's weird Uncle Phil back there. No, I'm precocious. Yes, I know that word at age 13. I have a good vocabulary. My mother used to subscribe to the New York Times, and I read some of it. Yes, I'm old for my years. I don't have the experience, but I got the wisdom, baby. Can I handle it? Can I handle this wisdom? Is all life nothing? Just uniforms? My father put on a suit. He looks actually cooler than Tom Tresh. I'm getting scared now. I know Dad made more than Tom Tresh. Baseball players in those days made $22,000 bucks. By the way, anyone see the 1964 Pontiac Grand Prix? Man, I love that. I wonder if Tresh has one. Maybe singers on the Ed Sullivan Show don't care what they sing or how they sing it. They put on a tattered tux and belt That's good. They put on a tattered tux, belt went out, just another lousy paycheck. They use it to get their oldest brat out of jail. Is that guy wearing a rug? Wow. Is he going to build an extension on the house with that $400? Is that blonde diva there wearing, falsies? I'm 13 now. Just another occupation. Just another occupation. Another tired, sweaty, unshowered mess. Do these guys use the men's room at the Port Authority in New York like any homeless person? We used to call them bums back then. Korean War hero? Nah, it doesn't matter. In 1956, driving home from Borough Park, Brooklyn through the Bowery, I'd say to Dad, driving on a 1951 Pontiac Star Chief, slow down. I want to see the bums. And he'd smile. Back at home, I'd grab a notepad and sketch the neatest looking one. Not exactly neat. I never asked Dad to stop so I could ask where they used to live, like in a house. At 13, I wondered, they ever feel empty? Not empty of alcohol, Well, I eased my way to being a 13-year-old Yankee fan in the final year of the dynasty, to being Phil the philosopher of the block. Now with other worldly experiences, which to mystify my buddies in the backyard. Yeah. Did Tresh ever feel like he was walking into a wind that won't quit? Maybe he was from Oklahoma, like Mickey. He got wind there, but now here I am, folks. 67 years old. And I managed to get excited at a double play or triple, just like when I was 13. Excuse me. It was Tom Tresh. Anybody remember Tom Tresh? Now let me get what's this one here, Cheryl? Got a whole bunch of things. I want to read eventually something I wrote of a more spiritual nature. We'll get into that. I find inspiration in the everyday things and things from the 50s and 60s. But this is a very personal poem called Clutter Man, and written Village Stories 2018. That was a really, really good edition. Clutter Man, we can all identify with this, can't we? Clutter Man. Faded pictures. Let me get my face in here. Faded pictures, fallen fixtures. White turns to brown. Flat leans to curve. Black and white 1955 sustains better than those 1965 color prints. My neighbor's Buick never looked so good, and the Cadillacs never came back after 1959 with the big fins, the wings in the back to lift the thing off the ground at 35 miles per hour. Boy, those Edsels really never came back. Yeah, one of these days I'll organize all my black and white pictures. What was that little round window by the back shelf? The T-birds and all that. I'm working on documents today. Let's see, no cassettes, CDs, VHS, DVDs. Wow. I found my 7th grade report card. Bad year. My 8th grade report card, a little better, not so bad. My class participation in art got better too. Mr. DeJour, the gym teacher, said I was the best hitter in the class. Yeah, I needed that after scoring a point for the opposing basketball team about 3 weeks earlier. My plaster of Paris jock was cutting into my groin when I ran in the opposite direction. Man, that was the basketball game. My buddy Mike, we called the Bird, he stood on the sidelines crying. The first time I ever saw a friend cry. But man, I could get around on a off-speed pitch. I reach into pile number 43 and find a lavender taffeta handkerchief made by my grandmother in 1961. She was a seamstress in downtown New York, worked with Irving Berlin's sister. You hear that, Peg? She kept her mechanical sewing machine from 1888. Love to play on that. I hope my 1964 Yankee yearbook literally pops up. And that naughty mag with the Parisian blonde, bleach blondes. I explain this to the show. Pretty tame compared to today's primetime TV. My life is passing before my eyes. I just sat on a row of staples. I deserve that. That's called clutter, man. I'm getting lost here. Whoop, excuse me. What's this one? Oh yeah, Childhood Run. I want to go back again to page 72. This is in the first book. Thanks to Peggy and Miranda for helping me get this together. Never would have come out. Well, it would have taken a few years. Look at this, page 72, Childhood Run. I found it, Childhood Run. I wrote this in 2008. Childhood, a precious thing, goes away but stays into the early spring. The summer brings forth the rush of youth for 48-year-old dudes at a folk festival in Mantoloking, New Jersey. Folk is okay, and light jazz is nice. Sausages and fruit drinks, funnel cakes are fine. Speeches and announcements permeate the air for 48-year-old dudes walking with a mixed drink and with great care. Maybe she'll show up. She loves folk jazz. She did say she might make it if she's got some gas. The sun at 95 brings out much fashion for 49-year-old ladies still denying their passion. Yeah, she never showed up. So I sat by rusted go-karts with an empty cup. Now it's 4:45 and I'm ready to drive. See Monday ahead and so on to an early bed, credit card bills to arrive. So I'm off to that parking lot, walking alone, stepping across those coal-colored, pointy stones. I'm tired, but I feel an insistent spark. Something from childhood life must have left its mark. Dad, I'm gonna run like Mantle. I hope you like that one, Childhood Run. Rolling right along. This is a totally disappointing Seinfeld reunion and a few nice things. Anybody like Seinfeld out there? I don't mean the first 4 seasons, which were awful when they got into gear. Gotta love them. The totally disappointing Seinfeld reunion.
Bill, can you stay more in the center of your screen, hon?
Let's see where I'm going here. Lincoln and Lee. I don't know if this will take a little time. How are we doing on time? Do you know?
2:30.
Would you like to hear my short Seinfeld, imagined Seinfeld reunion? Anybody want to hear that? Seinfeld? Let's get it started. Okay. You know the characters, I believe. Here's George. He says, the show opens up at Jerry's apartment. I saw it. He's rubbing his eyes, looking down. Lincoln's Jerry says, oh, yeah. No, you didn't. Oh, yes, my friend. I saw it, Lincoln's flushable toilet. What? Did they also show his, chair and the pot? Commode, commode. Oh, commode, schmomode. George, you've reached the zenith. I know. I'd tell you a lot more, but it's a security risk. What is a Russian drone hovering over us? What is it? What? Come on. Details. Is it porcelain? Can't go into details. Like a double-seater, like in his log cabin? I'm not sure that was his real log cabin. They put out that on tour, back then. Let's go for coffee. Now at the coffee shop, Jerry and George are in the booth. Jerry says, so George, what's your next assignment? George, as toilet historian? See, he got a job with the Smithsonian as a toilet historian. I'm going to Nixon's house in Whittier. His childhood house that his father built. Jerry, oh yeah, the prefab one. Prefab, stirring the coffee. Yeah, I guess that means it was nothing special. Well, it's something special when you switch from outhouses, I'll tell you that. Give me a break, huh? I'm sorry, sir, excuse me. A neighbor in a booth is eating a sandwich who turns and says to those guys, will you give me a break? And George and Jerry say, sorry. Jerry says, you know what would be funny, man? Why don't you do a write-up of the restroom here at Monk's, the coffee shop? George, Monk's? It's got to be a landmark or something, like maybe I could call Rudy Giuliani to help. And Jerry says, yeah, and you could get him to make the old stadium a landmark so you could see the old toilets there. Yeah, man. Well, I'd like to see the original ones from 1923. Plus the latrine the players used during the game. Neighboring booth guy turns and goes, I'm getting nauseous here. George and Jerry, sorry. And their buddy Kramer arrives. Jerry says to Kramer, guess what? Kramer, what? George, in his new position as toilet historian for the Smithsonian, he managed to see was in the presence of. Kramer punches George's right shoulder. George, hey man, Kramer, did you use it? What? Come on, out with it. Did you use it? George, do you think I'm lying? Jerry, what a question. Out with it. Well, George says, sat down. Kramer, how decadent. Jerry, I don't think that's the word. George, I don't either. So they all reflect in silence. Elaine shows up, Elaine, Jerry's ex-girlfriend, who's still a friend with everybody. And Elaine says, what's going on? Jerry says, George saw it. Elaine, a psychiatrist? George, hee, ha, ha. Let me read my menu here. Jerry says, no, his obsession. Elaine says, Lincoln's toilet? Then the owner of Monk's walks up, places his palms on the table, looking at Jerry and George. Your conversation is most inappropriate. Now switch to another subject or switch to another coffee shop. Kramer, he can't. Owner, please try. Jerry, maybe now you can ask him if he can take a picture of his toilet. I don't know if that's a good plan right now. I mean an official picture, something it's very promotional. Well, think about it. I need a blueprint, you see. Anyway, I'll be right back. Nature calls. So George goes to the restroom. Elaine says, I'm really happy for George. He never remarried and let's see. Well, he was never officially married to Susan. He tried the morning thing, it didn't take. Oh, I know what you mean. Elaine says, Susan was an angel. Then a waitress walks up. Jerry says, he was the archangel. Kramer says, he couldn't be, he's Jewish. Waitress, anybody want to order? Jerry, cereal. George returning says, I'll have the, yeah, chicken salad on rye, lettuce, no tomato. Kramer, you guys are very rude. You know, you went ahead of Elaine. I'll have a big chocolate root beer float. Well, vanilla. All right. Elaine says, I'll have the waitress, big salad. I watch the repeats. George, all right. What am I doing here? Oh yeah, George says, did you know I ran into Susan's long lost sister, and she's a doppelganger, the complete carbon copy of Susan, and it's so weird. I ran into her by accident where I was standing in front of Macy's. Anyway, I forgot to tell you now, I'm gonna go out with her. I gotta go out with her just to catch up on things, you know, see where her head is at. Maybe this will be like Groundhog Day with Bill Murray. You know, I'm a little worried. This is kind of strange. Jerry says, how so? You know, this could be a setup. Remember in the show, you might remember that Susan actually passed away licking invitations to their wedding, and the glue was poisonous. Very pleasant subject, but that's what happened. This is mostly for fans of the show, so please bear with me. What if she is wired so she can get me to confess about killing Susan? You know, everybody thought I had something to do with the poisonous paste. Kramer says, well, did you? I don't know. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to this thing, and I'm going to keep an iPhone on me. I'm going to wire myself just to protect myself. Anyway, Kramer says, whatever floats your boat. I'm getting a root beer float. Anyway, moving right along, we'll skip a few things. Now we're back in George's apartment. He's looking at his iPhone, and to himself, he says, yeah, okay, sure. Susan's twin is back in town. Hi, Jerry. You won't believe this. She called me to meet an hour earlier, and I'm on my way. I don't know if I can deal with another person looking at me with disdain. Tell me what I'm thinking of. I'm gonna wear that wire. Jerry says, what if you like her? That's so weird. Well, if they locked me up for killing Susan, we'd have great conjugal sex. Kramer says, you could do worse. Nah, what the hell do I care? I'll meet her. Wouldn't kill me. May kill her. Skipping a few things. Okay, I'm going to skip that part. Here they are, meeting for lunch. The girl's name is Danielle. She says, it's so hot. George, why don't you take off that jacket? The jacket he has wearing the wire. No, family tradition. In the meantime, Mrs. Costanza, George's mother, walks up. Georgie, what a surprise. Oh my God, it's Susan. I thought you did away with her. Mom? Oh, you must be Mrs. Costanza. Oh, we knew it was all an accident with my sister Susan. Wasn't that you in the box? George, oh God, I'm Susan's twin sister. I couldn't make the service. To George, Mom says, you must be so hot. Take off that coat. No, Mom, it's tradition. Well, your father always took off his jacket when he sat down in an elegant restaurant. That was low class, Mom. It was elegant. Not so elegant, not so upscale. Mom, what are you doing here? Where are you headed? Well, I wanted to visit the Smithsonian today and have lunch here. They're having a display of Mary Lincoln's summer wear. George spits out his coffee. George says, well, no, you don't have to do that. Why don't you join us for dessert? Mrs. Costanza, that sounds nice. I'll be seated over there. Please face the duck pond. Yeah, go. Waitress, what can I get you? Danielle, I'll have the duck platter. Duck. As he looks over at the duck, spare me. I'll have the medium Roquefort burger with coleslaw and a Coke. That's 2 Roqueforts. You both? Yeah. I like that. George, the way you really take command. Roquefort, why not? Last 2 minutes. Jerry's apartment after the summit with Susan's twin sister. Jerry, how did it go, the surveillance? You making plans? There's a sale, you know, on a Kramer says, reading the paper, there's a sale on a bedroom set. No bedroom sets. Okay, give us the lowdown. You know, it's funny, I really liked her. Anyway, she never knew I had a running video on my iPhone. So that's good. Until it wound up on Facebook Live video and 177 people saw it. Now, subpoena time. A detective heard my mother. Yes, she showed up with that little phrase, killed Susan, bled through like a tsunami through a desert. Well, you did, didn't you? Flush that. Thanks for bearing with that. We have a few more minutes. The last piece I'd like to read is for the book Cheryl and me put together. This one had some fans, some good fun. This is called Quarantine Alexa. Everybody knows about Alexa, don't we? Quarantine Alexa. By the way, without Sunshine's help, no book. Thank you, Sunshine. Quarantine Alexa. Here's a, what do you call a divorced guy? What do you call it? Bachelor. Divorced guy in his rundown apartment. Alexa, put tomatoes on the list. You already have tomatoes on the list. You want me to add them again? Yes, Alexa, add bananas to the, this is the 3rd time. What? 3rd time? Oh, I get it. A little gallows humor during the COVID, I see. Okay. I like that. I guess in this climate of quarantine, you know, they engineered something. They stuck in something lighthearted to make us feel better. Okay, baby, forget about it. I already did, and don't call me baby. This is a trip. What will we think of next, man? This should be good. Alexa, put a new Lexus on the list. You couldn't afford to use one. She said that? I can't believe it. What? Okay, Alexa, what do you drive? A Mercedes. Sure, you drive a freaking smart car. My husband drives a Hummer. This is nuts. What does your husband do at work? At work? Yeah. He's a voice coach for voiceover artists. He teaches how to whisper on TV commercials for luxury sports cars. You mean hum on Hummer commercials? You know, so 35-year-old divorcees, career women can get all it. I'll tell you one thing, women don't buy Hummers. Okay. Anyway, man, I got to call somebody over this. Wow, I've heard of her watching people, you know, clocking people. But it's not like she's saying you left your keys on the coffee table. She's trying to mess with my head. F her. Wow. He gets up from the couch, starts pacing. This is like a modern day Twilight Zone. Like she has taken on human intelligence. What do they call that? Artificial intelligence. Man, it's inevitable. Matter of time. It's built into nature, really. But why the contentiousness? I'm a good guy, pay all my taxes except for those 2 years. I thought my Social Security wasn't reportable. All right. Never had a misdemeanor, no FBI files, I don't think so. Anyway, she's trying to mess with me. I'm gonna call my wife, my ex. My ex is a techie, she'll know what this is. She's definitely capable of hacking. I don't know if she did this, I doubt it. I'm gonna call her. Cynthia, you home? You okay? Good, listen, I'm using Alexa, you know, to to make a grocery list, right? And it's unbelievable. She's going off the program. She's actually bickering with me. I'm telling you, it's nuts. It's kind of funny, but what? What are you saying? Calm down. What? I wasn't sleeping. No, I wasn't sleeping. It wasn't one of those things where your dream chemistry crosses over and you don't know where you're at. Wait a minute. That's no way. It's like artificial intelligence. You know all that stuff on like coast to coast radio? What? You got to go. All right, take care. I'm going to give Alexa one more chance. One more chance. Hey, Alexa, put diet soda on my effing list. I put diet soda on your effing list. And it's bad for you. Drink a regular Pepsi with a lot of ice and no more than once a day, 4 ounces. Alexa, what are you wearing? What time we got?
2:47.
We got 13 more. 13. I hope everybody's having a good time. Here's something else I wrote. This is for the whole family if you're over 40. Everybody's over 40. Now this very, very serious, tragic subject, but it seems the culture, the media has trivialized quite a bit. So this is really a send-up of the trivialization of such a horrible, horrible event. It was first in the Boomers Back, and I excised it from there and made a standalone book, Ruby and Lee, the musical. Ruby and Lee, the musical. I'm just going to read one short thing from this. Here's a song I wrote, co-written by a good buddy here in the village. In this cabaret-like exposition I wrote, Jack Ruby in Dallas, in his club, has a girlfriend. She's bartender and dancer, and she wants to make it on the Ed Sullivan Show. And she's saying to Ruby backstage, back at the apartment, I should say, Jack, you got to let me get up on the bar and do my thing. I want to dance. I want to dance. You just have me behind the bar, and I'm going a little crazy making these drinks. You got to let me get up and sing tonight. In fact, I got a song. And this is, she says, this song is dedicated to your favorite woman in the world next to me, Jackie Kennedy. Jackie Kennedy. I can't sing it. I don't have the chords, but these are the lyrics to the song I wrote called I Want to Be Like Jackie. I want to be like Jackie, marry a man named Jack, dresses by Dior, keep my image intact. I want to be like Jackie, marry a man named Jack. John is such a bore. Come visit the White House on my TV tour. Go to Hyannisport, touch football and various sport. Teddy and Bob so cute, rugged yet so hirsute. You know, the press can be so callous, but we look forward to Dallas. Lyndon and Bobby agree, way to go in 63. Okay, one more little thing I got here. Yeah. Just bear with me 1 second, folks. Okay, I guess I'll do that one. This is something I wrote that I think is pretty good. This is Jack Ruby now singing a cappella. No, I won't take a dive for love. This is really a doo-wop kind of song. C, A minor, F, G7. No, I won't take a dive for love. No, I won't put down my boxing gloves. Can't fake or feign, not in my brain. No, I won't take a dive for love. No, I won't take a dive for you. No, down for the count in 2. I'll keep my trunks on every day. When I go all the way. Never ever does a Jew take a pass. I got all the necessary class. Yeah. No, I can't take a dive for love. Hope I didn't skip over. Cheryl, what time we have?
2:51.
The last. Everybody, no, that's a little too long, Cheryl. I'm going to do this poem. Sunshine, how's everybody? Sunshine is so great at writing words and music to old-timey, turn-of-the-century kind of living room player piano thing. And that's exactly what I was thinking of when I wrote this song. Imagine some guy dressed up in a 1905 three-piece suit, and he's singing to his family and 16 children. Everybody says hello in California. Everybody says hello in California, where the Santa Ana winds blow and the oranges grow and grow. Welcome, pal. Hey, did you meet my little gal? Corny. Everybody says hello in California, where the palm trees swing and bluebirds sing and sing. Welcome, pal. By the way, my name's Hal. You must miss New York and Maine and Vermont, but they don't have a beach by a mountainside with girls, nothing to hide. Okay, folks, I closes it out. I want to thank everybody for the opportunity. Any drink water. I'm sorry. Anybody have a politically correct question? I don't know.
Fred,
I'm exhausted. Here we
Fred.
go.
Hi, can
Hi.
you hear me?
Yes.
So I have just a basic question. You published at least a couple of these books that I assume were self-published. You said Sunshine assisted you, so I assume they were from through KDP Amazon or something similar. I guess my question is, what is your goal with each of these books? What kind of audience are you trying to reach?
Well, primarily baby boomers from back east who can relate to what I write. Of course, everything we write is local and universal at the same time. I know it sounds funny, but right now, and I'm not defeatist, but right now I would like to know that some guy in Nebraska who I never met, never heard of me, finds this book, reads it and tells his friends about it and writes a review. My dream is that it catches on like that self-published book about, I forget the name of the book. It was about the Mars expedition. Somebody picks up and says, you know, this is really funny. A little rough around the edges, but I can relate to this, and then buy the books and join the publishing club. Way back when I wrote a script for the show Lots of Luck, and I think it would have been picked up, but the show went off the air in 2 weeks. I can't say it was a solicited script, but I've shopped it around to people who could read it objectively, say this is going to, and in those days you could manage to get an unsolicited script produced. Anyway, that's 1974. So my dream of writing for a sitcom, it's a little elusive at this point. I would like everything to lead to me being on a team that writes for a sitcom. And I'd like to play the crazy next door neighbor on that sitcom. I know it sounds nuts, but also I want this to be part of my show. Cheryl and me do a quote unquote dog and pony all over the place. Sometimes we get paid, and I want to be able to promote the Pub Club and my books. I hope everybody in the Pub Club gets a chance to read the books. I can see I had a few errors. Even at this point, I thought I cleaned them all up, but that's my goal. My goal is to keep the Pub Club afloat, and more than afloat, I shouldn't say afloat. I want to keep it going full steam and put out I think I have about 25 of these books in my head. Any other questions?
So how difficult was it to publish them?
It was very, very difficult. as somebody technologically challenged, I needed a lot of help, and I got that help with the club. But we have to really try and make the best effort, because when you involve other people, you know, and you may pay for the help, you can't just drop a mess on their desk. You got to get as organized as possible, with Cheryl, very helpful with that. As far as the text itself is a pleasure because it just flows. I could write for 16 hours and not know it. My problem is, like in my working days, was organization. Keeping folders and files was impossible to me. My head, I need to learn about folders and files. And also, one thing I learned about publishing, actually read the instructions that they do provide for you. And you see, when you got to have a book, you're not proofreading the sentence or the paragraph. You are proofreading it character by character, character by character, word by word, semicolon by semicolon. See, we read, some of us are able to read a paragraph in one shot, or a sentence one shot. I have minor dyslexia. I have issues with that too. A problem with these minor dyslexia. But the thing is, I learned later, as I said, you proofread character by character. Has anybody had that realization in their works? How do you proofread?
You ask for a lot of help.
Very painstaking. And then I found, well, there was another book here. I found a bad mistake in the Seinfeld episode. I have to fix it. I think best all around, though, is the book Sunshine helped out on. That's like 99 9/10ths. And Miranda helped out on the first book. And this last one, The Boomer's Back, that's really my big guy, you know. I hope everybody gets a chance to read that and enjoy it and review it. I hope everybody's going to review the new Village Stories 2021. Cheryl, I've read it, and Cheryl is just about completed. And as we say a million times, 4 stars and 3 stars are just as good as 5 stars. So it doesn't look like our aunt was paid to give us 5 stars. Anybody else have a question?
I will just reiterate that we were really lucky this year to have 3 proofreaders on our team.
Yes.
When I was doing my books, I had help from Peggy. I did it myself. I had help from a neighbor. I then sent it to Upwork, and they proofread it for a fee, and I published it. I now have a friend in Kaukauna, where I graduated from high school, who read my book, and he's calling me. He says, "Oh, you know, I found an error on page 30." So, you know, That's how it is. That's exactly how it is.
You got to live with it.
Yes, never. Always find another one. It's uncanny. It's like someone puts it in there if it's perfect.
Peggy, could I ask you, is it okay to start sending new entries for the new annual at this time?
We've Professor Allen has already sent in 2.
Oh,
so
he's great.
Start.
He's amazing.
On that note, Nancy, you want to tell them what we want them to put in the email title?
You're going to see VS 22 for Village Stories 22. That must be the first part of your subject line, and then your name, because when we changed our email to PubClub, everything is coming into that one email. And it's going to be extremely important that when you submit something, you submit it correctly so that we know what it's for. there are lots of different things that come into our email. I mean, you can imagine that, you know, what comes into your personal email. So, but I will send that out, you know, just follow the instructions.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, Peg, may I ask, did anybody like anything in particular that I read? Did you like the Seinfeld? Anything else enjoyable? Childhood?
Seinfeld.
Did you like it?
I like the Seinfeld because I could identify with that show. I just, I really enjoyed it when it was on. I haven't looked at any of the reruns, but I thought you did a nice job, Phil.
Okay, thank you. About the poetry, I don't know how to describe my own poetry. People might say it's a bit one-dimensional, but I find inspiration in everyday things. I always have. There's something beautiful about it. This is the world we have. So far, we're not aware of any other world that's similar. So I hope, does anybody can describe, maybe it's not fair to ask you, how would you describe my poetry?
Good question.
Because I have no idea.
I'd say stream of consciousness.
Thank you. I hope you found it melodious. I keep it musical.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Phil, just coming back to your original question about you know what we like. Well, I'm close to your age. I gather because I absolutely know who Tom Trush is.
I was a little concerned. Yeah.
You know, one thing, you know, it was just advice I got in writing class many years ago about writing something that's authentic. And that's, you know, something that you know about and something that comes from your personal experience. And so I found that original piece we were talking about, you know, as a 13-year-old, this change in the perception of what Tom Trush was and athletes, that really struck a chord with me. And I thought that was really well done. And I think that type of thing is, you know, is what has a chance to, perhaps the best chance to resonate with readers. On the flip side of the coin, I think tackling something like Seinfeld is something that's extremely, is about as difficult a thing as you can do, just because it is something so well known that obviously has had great success. And it's not like you can put your personal touch on it. I mean, I guess what you're trying to say is that you're trying to show that you can be a sitcom writer. My suggestion is, again, going back to, I mean, more than one writing class I took many years ago, I think your greatest chance at that would be to stick to your personal experiences rather than trying to tackle what has been one of the most successful shows. And I don't know if you know Phil Duran at all.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
We're acquainted, yeah.
Okay, because he could probably shed even a lot more light on that, since obviously he's been there, he's done that, you know, at the highest level. But to me, that's like that's so difficult to pull off, and I just think the greater, the thing that I find of more interest is the personal. That's just me, but it's also the kind of advice I got years ago. So for what it's worth, you can take it or flush it down that historic toilet.
It was.
Bill, may I say something?
Very appreciated, yes.
May I say something? I agree with Fred about writing about the personal. You know that the best is probably the easiest to write about. But you asked what piece we especially liked. I liked the first poem you read, the one, If I Could Love the Way I Learned the Violin. I thought it was great.
Thank you.
I really
if I could learn
that.
to love the way we learn the violin.
Yeah, I thought that was wonderful.
Thank you very much.
I like that one which you read about the traveling guitar, and it appeared that as if you can give such a human touch to an instrument, a musical instrument, and that it speaks out so well in in the words, in the poetry, about the traveling guitar. And I like that one.
Well, thank you very, very much. And I was inspired by a sunshiner, our buddy named Gar. But I look forward to future meetings. Yes.
Gar Up the Graph is his name. Up the Graph.
I can't believe it. I look forward to future meetings when all the members can do a one-man show, you might say, one-person show. And be a showcase for yourself.
Speaking of future meetings, can Nancy tell us about our November meeting?
I was going to mention.
Oh, thanks, Peggy.
November's meeting will feature Nancy and her publicist, Nicholas Cattleman. So if you have a very difficult book to put together, this will be a meeting that will interest you. Nancy, would you say a few words about this?
Well, it all started with the publishing club. And specifically, it started with Marcia Hackett, who mentioned she had just published a book and she had a little help with her editing. And I contacted Nick Cattleman, who edited Marcia's book. I had a very difficult task because, having been a former teacher, I could do spelling, grammar, punctuation, line spacing, editing, but making sense out of a 580-page typewritten manuscript and organizing it from a stream of consciousness format to something that was readable was beyond me. So I contacted Nick and he helped me through it, and he's going to talk about the types of editing that he does, but I highly recommend him. And he's very personable, and I think you will really enjoy that meeting. Nick Cattleman next in November. And Peggy, if you don't mind, while I'm speaking, I see that Linda Gross, our third new member, has logged on. I don't see her video on, and her audio is muted, but Linda, if you can hear me and can turn your video on and give us a wave, then we can say hi to you.
I forgot to unmute myself.
Yeah, and your video.
Yeah, there we go.
There you go. All right.
Welcome, Linda. Yeah,
I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, well, I'm talking.
Yeah. Welcome, Linda and Melba.
Linda, and Melba.
Linda,
and Rita.
And
Rita.
Okay. Hey, and last point, these are the winners of our raffle today. Ellen, maybe. One, Rama Gopal's handmade book of poetry. This is an unbelievable book.
I'm disappointed.
It's like silk, made out of silk, handmade book of poetry.
Wow, that's exciting. Thank you.
Nice.
Let's see. Daya won Nancy's book.
Yes.
My Babies, My Promise.
Very good.
So you'll enjoy this, Daya. It's a real good read. Marcia won Marilyn Hanson's book, It's Not Over.
Wow.
Wonderful.
And Melba or Rita won Village Stories 2018. 18.
Wow.
So what I have to do is give you guys a phone call, and we'll make arrangements for you to come to Clubhouse 3. If you can't, I'll go to your place. So, lucky winners.
Okay.
And Peggy, just one last thing. I did put in the chat my email address. So if you want to send me your membership, your renewed membership, you do get a free copy with your membership of the Village Stories 2021. Also, if you want to order any additional copies, I need to know that today, tomorrow at the latest, because we need to place another order.
Yep, I'm going to put the order in tomorrow, so I'll be waiting for my instruction from Nancy as to how many I shall order.
Right.
And Nancy,
yes.
I would tell you the check is in the mail, but I haven't put it in the mail yet, but I will put it in the mail. But I also just want to tell you, since you have this deadline, I am not looking for any extra copies. I got mine. And so, but thank you anyway. So,
and I do remember you telling me that, Fred.
Right.
Thank you.
And for others, just so they know, I'm not in California, I'm in Connecticut. So it'll be.
We have long range members now.
Yes.
So let the date of the next meeting in November is the 17th. Am I correct?
Correct.
The week before Thanksgiving. So write it down. 17, 2 o'clock.
Yep.
November.
Good one. Thank you, Marcia.
I'll be in New Orleans. So hopefully.
Fred, can I just ask you? I have your addresses here in Laguna Woods. Are you just traveling, or have you moved to Connecticut?
Oh, no. We have always been in Connecticut. Well, I shouldn't say that. We've been nomads in a way, but we have owned a home in Connecticut for the last 3 years. We were looking in Laguna Woods. We were renting in Laguna Woods. I can tell you there's a decent chance we will end up buying in Laguna Woods. But no, for right now we're in Connecticut and we're not coming back for this winter.
Okay, well, when you send me your membership form, put your Connecticut address so that we have it correct on the roster.
Okay.
Okay.
And if you want me to set up the Connecticut branch of the Laguna Woods Publishing Club, I'll definitely do that.
That's great.
Actually, there is a former member of your club who I've never met, but who was from my hometown here, and she moved back. I don't know if you remember or know Jill Amadio.
Yeah. Sure.
But she moved back to Westport. We exchanged a couple of emails. So I guess we could have a 2-person representation of the Laguna Woods.
There you go.
And by the way,
Nancy, I know I already bought 10 copies of 2021. Yes. However, I need one more, and I have paid, for the other ones. So should I be sending you the check for this next one? I need one more copy.
Yes.
In addition to my 10 I already have.
Okay. Why don't I call you, Dia?
Okay, that'd be great.
And we can work that out.
You can send me the email maybe.
Okay, sure.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Would it be possible for me to say something?
Sure, please.
Sure.
Okay. This is something that I do regularly for myself, especially when I need inspiration. I have a saying, which is on my t-shirt here: shoot for the moon, but even if you miss, you land among the stars. So I say shoot for what I really am wanting, above. But if that doesn't happen, then I know I'll land among the stars and at least get it in print as something. And I have 30 poems that I'm ready to put into book form to publish. And also I'm writing my autobiography, which I've traveled a great many places, Canada, Alaska. About king salmon in Alaska, and that's one of my poems. So anybody that would like my poems, well, you can email me and I'll email you my poems. Cheryl has known that. So she's the one that I want to thank. She and her husband, Phil, they have introduced me to this. We live in the Laguna and the Lake Forest Mobile Home Park. And it was through Cheryl that I found all of you. And I'm so happy and grateful and thank you. And looking
welcome.
Looking forward to meeting you all.
We'd love to see your face, Rita.
Well,
we can't see your face.
Well, I had it
She
earlier.
was showing off her shirt.
Shirt.
I wanted you to see my.
There you are.
Here's her poetry.
Oh, nice.
She sent me.
Rita, are you looking for a publisher?
Yes.
Are you? Because you might want to hold off until you hear Nick Cattleman next month, November. Okay. He's the one that walked me through the whole process, and he's a wonderful man.
What is his name? Nick
Cattleman. He's our speaker next month.
Okay.
He's the one Nancy Brown also talked about. And anyway, he didn't do much of my editing because I was a former English teacher, but I didn't know the process of publishing, and that's where he was very, very helpful.
Okay, I'll be looking forward to it.
Yeah, he should be
join you every month.
He should be good. So welcome to the group.
Okay, thank you, Marcia.
Thank you for attending. Thank you always, as always, Sunshine.
You're welcome.
Zoom.
I have a question. I have a question. Can I, real quick?
Sure, of course.
Have you all published through a publishing house, or are you all indie published?
Not indie, self-published.
Same difference, basically.
I think most of us are self-published.
Self-published and through a regular publisher, both instances.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what Nick will talk about. He did both for me.
And Peggy, may I say, we are scouting up a real literary agent, right?
Right.
Thank you.
So anyone knows an agent, refer them our way. Because look, who tells a better story than we do? And if you don't tell the story, what's the point? So,
Peggy, may I add something?
Sure.
Yesterday, for the first time, I saw on Channel 6, our local channel TV.
Oh,
I saw which for me was the first, but it was the third showing of our village stories, our storytelling. It's at 2:00 next Tuesday.
Will be the last.
The
27th.
No, 26th. 26th. And this was the first time I'd seen it. I was a part of it, but it's so wonderful to see it, and you get a great idea of the variety of people in the club, and it's very, very entertaining. I was so happy to be able to see it. And I happened to follow one of the best speakers of all, which was a hard act to follow, but it was fun.
Also, I had sent out, I'm sorry. I did send out the link also on YouTube. It is on YouTube. And when I send out the link for the recording from this meeting, I could also include the link for storytelling again, in case you missed it on TV or you don't live in the village.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Yeah, that would be a great idea.
Especially for those who don't live in the village, they wouldn't be able to see the local TV channel.
Yeah, how to access Channel 6.
Just 406 on your TV.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's good.
I don't know if she can get it at Wellington, but
At the Wellington, I can get PBS Channel 6.
Oh,
yes.
PBS.
Yeah, so maybe
can get.
Do you have broadband cable there, Diane?
Terrific.
Yes.
Okay, then you should be able to get it.
Okay, then. I think we've said what we needed to say and a lot more. And thank you, Phil. Good presentation.
Thank you.
And next time we'll raffle one of your books if you like. And so till soon, everybody, keep writing. 15 minutes a day is the law.
At least.
At least. And thank you. And
good advice.
Bye, everybody.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.